Diggy down bong, diggy ding down boing, diggy bang doing, diggy ding ding doing, diggy boing dang, giddy boing ding dang, wiggy dang dang, diggy boing ding dang, wiggy dang dang, wiggy dang dang. Oh, okay. Let's go ahead and roast some tracks as per usual. I'm gonna start off where I left off. Um, let's see here. Got to make sure that I scroll up to my last roasting? Huh, I guess they got rid of the things that I last roasted. Well, in this case, let's get it. So this is going to be Conductive by Nate Sassoon slash Mask Zero. Let's do it. Jesus fucking Christ. What the fuck? Holy fuck, dude. What the fuck was that? Okay, gotta give this a thumbs up. Yes. So that was Nate Sassoon with Conductive. Jesus fucking Christ, that was insane. There was like some dubstep, womp womps. There was jazz, fusion, weather report type craziness. There was a fucking Bach partita in the middle there. There was a fucking hardstyle outro. There was, Jesus Christ, I mean, it was just like you vomited like at least 8 genres out in the span of 4 minutes. It's just insane, bro. Also, it's in 15/8 for some fucking reason. Like, it's just so excessive. And I mean, that's kind of the most amazing thing about it. It's also arguably the worst thing about it. For example, there's already so much stuff going on. Why also, on top of that, make it 15/8? It just makes it really, really hard to follow. You know, I'm all for maximalism. You know, I am trying in my own compositions to sort of, you know, include as much musical information as possible so that the listener doesn't get bored and all that. But I think making the time signature weird on top of all the other craziness that's happening feels a little gratuitous, especially for the parts where you do want us to go hard to your sick wub wubs and your hard style and your just insanity. So I think it would be more digestible if it was in 4/4. I also think this could easily be like 5 songs. But there is, you know, something undeniably impressive about just the excess in here. And, you know, it shows off your ability to compose in a variety of different styles quite well. It's just personally a little too much for me. But thank you, Nate. That was really fucking cool. You know, I've never heard anything even close to that. So, yeah, man. Pretty fucking sick. Yeah, all right, let's keep going. This is Shubverse track with Duel. Let's take a listen. Okay, welcome to my Sick Gaming channel. This is You Suck at Gaming. We're gonna play Fortnite for 36 hours straight. Sponsored by Monster Energy Drink. What's up? Yo, that was my intro theme song. That was Shub with Duel. Shub, I mean, in terms of a production standpoint, it was flawless. The mix was, really, really polished. All the instrumentation and sound design was excellent. The arrangement worked too. I guess, really, my only piece of feedback here is that I just personally don't really fuck with the intent, I guess, behind this. I don't really personally like this kind of music because I think it's generic. But in terms of what you're going for, it seems pretty clear what you're going for, and it seems like you are getting there, to a point where you're making really high quality, danceable, easy to digest EDM. So everything there, I mean, that you're doing is working. It's just personally, I don't, it's just a little too generic for my taste. I mean, things that you could try, and a couple people suggested this in the comments, is maybe switching up the melody towards the second half. Also notice in the second build-up here, you kind of do this. Right, so you got the fake out on the drop there, so the drop happened like a bar later than we were expecting it to, and you had this sort of like sword shink, which is very appropriate. But maybe into the drop there, you could build even more tension by doing sort of a fill, a tom fill. Maybe it could be super cheesy, just to make that second drop pop a little bit more. Because I like the idea of the fake out, I just think it could be a little bit more obvious when the drop will actually hit, so you can build a little bit more tension there. But yeah, I mean, really, really excellently well done. I like Shockfoil's comment. I mean, compared to this last track, it's just like a completely different universe. That last track was just completely out there, totally insane, ultra complex and unconventional, whereas this is also well done. Both of them are well done, but they're both just the far polar extremes of, on the one hand, being super avant-garde and experimental, on the other hand, being quite generic, but both pretty well done in terms of what they're trying to accomplish. So I'll give you a yes, Mr. Shub. Alrighty, let's keep going. Zero doesn't really matter. It will all work out. Well, thank you. Thank you, Zero. Appreciate that. There's that death step, bro. Okay. Looks like it doesn't really matter if you have a drop or not, it'll all work out. Okay, that was Zeron with it doesn't really matter, it'll all work out. So it doesn't really matter if, you know, this drops or not, it's gonna be okay. You're just gonna keep it ambient. That's okay, honestly. You know, there's nothing wrong with ambient music. It all really just depends on what you think the intent behind your piece is to be. If you think the intent is, you know, somebody sitting and giving your full attention to the piece, I don't know. I don't think it does enough, you know, there's not enough change in energy for that to really happen. Whereas if this is a soundtrack or background music for a level in a video game, perfect. But if the goal is to capture the listener's attention without the pretext of it being in some other form of media, then we need to do a little bit more here. So options could be, you know, changing up the chord progression, creating a little bit more automation and movement in the, you know, in the synths and instrumentation, or just going full death step and just going blah, blah, so, you know, just to appeal to the kids these days, because if they're not getting that death step drop, my friend, I mean, they're never going to forgive you for this. It doesn't really matter if it doesn't have a death step drop, okay? It just doesn't really matter anymore. So, you know, and you know, you don't have to go full death step. Some people in the comments were saying maybe go the lo-fi drum approach. You know, you could easily develop this into a full track and just let what you just presented here to be the intro. But once again, it really just depends on the intent. With all these, you know, if it's really just a matter of the intent here, and I'm really, the best I can do is just infer what the intent is. So yeah, all right, Zeron, here we go. I'm gonna give you a yes. Thank you so much. Let's keep going. Alrighty. This whip is kind of all over the place. Not sure where to take it. Okay, here we go. Cute concept. Haven't been on clip in quite some time. Alright, let's hopefully take a listen. Is this gonna load? Hello? French core? Alright. That lead though. Oh my gosh. Kawaii desu ne. Hi, Dioza-san. Arigatou gozaimasu. Okay. Thank you so much, Dioza. That was very kawaii. What is it? Sounds like a cross between Paper Mario, Kirby on an Eighth of Shrooms, intro to anime TV show, Animal Crossing. But overall, very cute, very lighthearted, very video gamey vibe. And that was, yeah, the lightheartedness I think is the strongest part of the track. But let's talk a little bit about the overall thing. Overall, it feels a little all over the place. You're right. There's great imbalances in the mix. There's also something about the chord progression that feels a little wonky, a little unresolved. You're doing a lot of these 2-5-1s, but we're not getting the one, and as a result, the tension is greater than I think it needs to be for something so kawaii desu ne. So let's take a listen one more time. Right, there's that diminished chord. Yeah, the progression is really fucking weird. So that's the first thing that makes it a little less than kawaii. The progression is super out there. And then we drop into the drums. The drums feel a little strange in terms of the mix. The hi-hat is the loudest drum element. The snare feels really far back. The kick is decent. I think you could pick drum sounds with a little bit more character. For example, the snare feels a little weak. Maybe something a little bit grittier or lo-fi, but I mean, it could just be a personal preference thing. Also, the drums are way louder than everything else in the mix. That's kind of strange as well. Oh my gosh, that fucking lead. It's adorable, man. I think you could also use bass in this section here. There's a mysterious lack of bass until we get to the future bass drop. That could really open things up. Lead is super cute. Yeah, once again, the chord progression feels a little all over the place. That cheer is fucking awesome. Oof, yeah, that modulation is kind of where the chord progression starts to come awry. Here, it's a little busy because we're getting the melody in the Rhodes and also in that like super bright 8-bitty, sounds like a fucking, I don't even know, like a oboe or something. It's sounding really cluttered here because you have these two competing melodic ideas at the same time. Just a lot of stuff going on here. And then we're getting, out of nowhere, future bass? I think? Not yet. Here it comes. 4, 3, 2, 1. Nope. So a lot of kind of dead space here. I think you could take us to the drop a little bit more quickly. And then once we do get there, something about, so first off, the snare here is really, really quiet. I think if you're doing future bass, you really need to make the kick and the snare super prominent in the mix. Same weirdness in the chord progression. But so overall, I would say I think you need to. I think the song is very kawaii desu ne, but it lacks direction on a couple fronts. I think you could simplify the chord progression. I think you could get us to the future bass drop sooner, and then maybe break down with a section like this in the middle, and then maybe bring us back to a second future bass drop and then outro. Because right now the arrangement of the song is pretty unconventional, as well as just the chord progression. But I like the lighthearted kawaii desu ne vibe behind the thing, I think that's very welcome. So thank you for not making Death Step, and thank you for sharing. I'm going to give a yes to you, Dioza. Hi. Okay, and now Cow Bless. This is my first relatively serious attempt at a track. It's experimental, supposed to be a weird journey. Okay, let's take a listen. Wowzers, that was Holy Synth by Cow Bless. Okay, here's the sitch. Looks like this is some trance, psytrance perhaps. Um, Overall, it's got some solid ideas, some interesting sound design choices, and the arrangement is pretty unconventional for trance, which I don't really listen to a lot of, so take my feedback with a grain of salt. Um, it just feels very, very quiet. The mix feels really, really quiet. Like, for example, this section right here. Your kick is just barely there. And then once we get into the drop, everything's super muted. I think you could turn up the main synth and the high frequencies way, way up. And there's just a lot of kind of the low end rumble of the bass and just not much else. The kick also is just reduced immediately to like a teeny tiny little click, and we really need for it to cut through heavy to the mix. So more sidechain, just louder, everything really. Louder kick, louder high end. I think, I understand that this is your first maybe real serious attempt at a track, but I think you'll find that with trance especially, and house music in general, and progressive trance and psytrance, all that stuff requires the mix down to be really, really tight. So what I would do is this. Maybe what you can try is you just take this track, you put it into Ableton or whatever, and find 3 or 4 reference tracks. So other trance tracks that you really like the mix of, other, side trance, whatever the fuck. and put them in the session and match the loudness of the reference tracks to your track. And I have a video on reference tracks that you can check out that explains how I do this. But I think what you'll find is even after you've matched the loudness, your kick is going to be way, way quieter than all the other kicks and all the other reference tracks. And that's okay. I mean, mixing is really hard, but reference tracks and bouncing everything to audio, those two things have been the biggest ways I've been able to improve my mix downs. So highly, highly recommend that approach. Outside of that, some of the chord choices feel a little bit strange, and the arrangement I feel like is pretty unconventional once again for psytrance. Same thing as with the mix. Pick a couple trance reference tracks and just write down the arrangement there. How many bars are they spending on the intro? How many bars are they spending on the drop? What is the order of the sections? How does the energy change? And really try and study the arrangement styles of these genres and see if you can implement that back into your track. I think both the mixing and the arrangement need work. I think for the most part the sound design is interesting and there's movement there, but those two things I think are where you should direct your time and attention. But I will give you a big yes. So thank you for that. Let's move on to Green's track. Oh, wowzer. So that was some dope liquid drum and bass from Green. Solid stuff. I like everything you choose to include there. All the sounds that you choose to include are good. The ambient pads really work. The drums really work. The bass really works. All that works. It's just not enough to sustain the length of the track. For example, specifically with the drums, you have this solid book, 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 really, standard, solid drum and bass rhythm. All the mixing is really well done. I think you could fully go into something more like use those ghost snares, those extra notes, add another hi-hat layer, sample a drum break, amen break, sure, put it over it. Just have some more variation and activity in the drums and also the bass as well. You have really solid sub bass, but something like a mid-range Reese bass or like some FM bass, or like you can go full Cohen sound and just do those straight neuro bass there. But I think we need some more musical information and ideas there to sustain the arrangement. You could also bring the vocal up more, make the vocal say different phrases, have a melody, since there's no real melody to this as well. So yeah, I think it's a solid start. It's well mixed, but it's just I think we need more to sustain the length of the song. But excellent beginning. I'm going to give you a yes to this. Thank you, Green. Yes just means that I've roasted the track and the mods can remove it from this channel and I can keep going. So let's do it. Corradino with Maniac. Oh, Corradino hitting us right in the feels with Maniac. Damn, this is the type of song that makes me want to contemplate my life decisions and also maybe look at, I don't know, soaring aerial footage of the Amazon or something like that. I mean, it's just like some epic, deep, emotional shit. So I think what's working here is that emotion, which is really well accomplished in the chord progression and the soundscapiness of it, especially in the first half. I wasn't sure if you actually needed the second half. Because that's when you introduce the weirdness in the kick pattern, and have a lot of much more weirdness in the arrangement overall. And personally, for me, I felt like it didn't need any of that, and that, in fact, for me, took away from the emotion a little bit, and also didn't offer much new musical information. Like, for example, a B section with a different chord progression, or a melody, or a vocal, maybe, because for me personally, I think the track has plenty of room for a vocal or a lead sound, if you'd like. And if not, you can just keep it real short and simple. So I think just starting about right here, I think you can easily just outro there. Now, with regards to the drums, I think the kick works for the most part. The snare doesn't feel like it quite has enough transient or punch to really cut through the mix. You also layer some like wide, distorted version of the snare with it, and I'm not sure if that's necessarily effective either. I think just a really solid snare with a strong transient, maybe some reverb tail to sort of give it that epic orchestral feel, I think could work here. But right now the snares are a little too distorted, in my opinion, to sort of match the open, kind of grandiose feeling of the track. I mean, this section is beautiful. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, just that wide, super distorted snare I don't think you necessarily need. But this is really nice. I think for inspiration with regards to drums, I would check out Clams Casino. Your track reminded me a lot of his work. He's really good at making this kind of atmospheric, emotional, instrumental hip-hop. And yeah, he's fucking awesome. So think about those things. Otherwise, still a really solid track, very emotional. I give you a yes, Corradino. All right, let's keep going with Ral Garog with Dominus 5. Take a listen. Sick. That was Ral Garog with Dominus 5. Check it. Pretty solid, man. I would say the main issue here is, well, first off, I'll describe what I think it is. I think it's supposed to be in like an ambient backgroundy track. I think that seems to be the intention. What's working are the kind of synths and chord progression and sort of the sound design and the pads. I think all that is really cool. Kind of a disaster piece vibe for me. I think the main issue is that the kick and the bass are too loud, specifically the kick. It's just way louder than everything else, and as a result, everything else in the mix sounds very quiet by comparison. So I would turn the kick down. I would maybe beef up your drums in other ways. Maybe pick a maybe stronger snare, for example. And the other thing is, it feels like it wants to go somewhere. It feels like it's slowly building energy to a certain place, but it never quite hits. And then as a result, we just kind of end the track somewhat arbitrarily. So take us to that place. Take us to that place where you think we're trying to go. Take us to the place where this smiling man is, so we can finally meet him and touch him, and arrive on Dominus 5. But it doesn't quite seem like we ever get there. So see what you can do about that. Maybe make the build up, condense it, and also turn down that kick, and maybe take us to a new section there, because I think that would be really, really welcome. Cool. Yeah. Alrighty. Sweet. So let's give it a yes. And by the way, someone in the chat keeps asking where I can roast his track. I think it's like Levron Music or something. Levron, I'm not going to be roasting your track today. For that, I pick tracks from this UB Roast Zone. These tracks are from people who have been active in the community for some time. They roast each other. They've given feedback to other people, and they've made the community on the Discord a better place. And for that reason, their tracks are selected from the roast before post section, so that I can give them a proper roast. So do all that, be an active member, be a good guy, and then chances are your track will show up here. Alrighty, cool. Let's keep going. This is Timos Hood's track with Rinka, You and I. Let's take a listen. Damn, motherfucker. Yo, that was Rinka with You and I. Damn, son. That was sick. Super old school, chopped up, boom bap type vibe. Takes me back to listening to RJ Dutu when I was like 12. Pretty Lights, Grammatic, stuff like that. Really, really well done. The chops were great. The switch ups and the beat were awesome. You know, it felt engaging. The drums worked really well, although they were a little quiet in the mix, but that's also kind of part of the style, I guess, of this old school chopped up hip hop approach. I think really the only thing you could benefit from is a sick rapper. And I think, I think there'd be, rappers fucking lining up to spit over this. This is fucking really, really well done. Yeah, I thought it was well accomplished. I mean, really the only thing that I heard was maybe in the drums, you have this one additional hi-hat that you have panning left and right, and I feel like that hi-hat sound perhaps isn't quite gelling with the drums that well. Maybe something a little bit more lo-fi. That sound felt a little too stocky to me. Didn't quite gel with the rest of your gritty boom bap drums. But everything else worked really well. I mean, it feels a little bit long for an instrumental piece, which is why I suggested the rapper. But yeah, fucking hit up Killer Mike or some shit. And damn, I mean, that's going to be, a sick track. Cool. So thank you so much, Rinka. That was awesome. All right, I got to wrap up the roast today, but thank you all for joining me. I had fun. Yeah, we'll do this again next week. Patrons, I will see you tomorrow. Have a good one, guys. Peace. What the heck? All right, I'm going to go.